Capitol, not the only place where deportations are underway. Local law enforcement is working with ICE agents across the country to remove those here illegally who are also known criminals, including in the state of South Carolina. And we're joined now by the state's Attorney General, Alan Wilson, for more. Mr. Attorney General, thanks for joining us. So ICE with another big day yesterday, nearly 1,000 arrests. And we don't often think of South Carolina as having an influx of illegal migrants, but we know that every state now is a border state. And you look at what happened to Lake and Riley, just across the border in Georgia. So how are deportation efforts going in your home state?
Well, I'm actually going to be working with our 46 sheriffs throughout the 46 counties in South Carolina. I've already been in touch with Tom Homan. I've actually been in touch with Secretary Kristi Noem, who I think is doing an excellent job on day one, actually being on the ground with the ICE agents on the front lines. Can you imagine Secretary Mayorkas doing that? But the point is to have a line of communication between our partners at the federal level and our law enforcement leaders at the local level within our respective states. So in the coming days and weeks, we'll be putting together a plan to try to onboard our federal folks with our state folks so that we can help them accomplish the agenda the president set out with these mass deportations.
You know, Mr. Attorney General, yesterday we had one of your colleagues on from the state of Indiana who is actually suing a county sheriff in his own state because they refuse to work with federal law enforcement, federal immigration efforts. Are you experiencing any kind of pushback from any of your county and local officials to working with the feds?
Not in the law enforcement arena. We haven't seen that. We don't have sanctuary cities in South Carolina, and I'm certainly not aware of any elected sheriffs that support those types of policies. But we had a sheriff recently, but they lost their reelection. But in South Carolina, we're very pro, law enforcement. We're very pro anti-illegal immigration. I mean, we are very much against that. I mean, last 4 years, I've had probably more than half a dozen drug trafficking cases where all of the drugs, all of the fentanyl, all of the illicit activity came from Mexican drug cartels south of the border, came up through Texas and into South Carolina. And so this is a real problem here in South Carolina. A lot of the illicit activity is starting down the south of the border. It is ending here, and South Carolinians are sick of it. And we're going to try to do everything we can to help the president and this administration stop it.
And I do want to ask you about this. We know that President Trump signed a new executive order yesterday banning child gender transition care. I know your state banned these procedures last year, and you've been a big advocate for this. So what did you make of the news yesterday?
Thank you, President Trump. We really appreciate this. I was in the Supreme Court of the state of Tennessee last month. Our state is currently in federal litigation on a similar law in South Carolina, which South Carolina passed a law banning transition surgeries for minor children. I mean, God forbid, that is now a controversial subject, that you can't take a 12-year-old and mutilate them or inject them with hormones. So these are now controversial subjects in some corners of our society. But this is a position that the General Assembly has taken, and I intend to strongly defend that law that promotes and protects our children.
Yeah, I know you're headed to D.C. later this week for the hearing of Kash Patel to be the FBI director. Why do you think it's important that we get Kash into that position?
Well, first off, what I love about President Trump, he's an unconventional president dealing with unconventional issues. So he's taking unconventional tactics to put unconventional people in positions of authority. Kash Patel is an unconventional pick for the FBI. But I've gotten to know Kash Patel, and I've followed his career, whether he was a senior advisor to the Director of National Intelligence or Chief of Staff to the Acting Secretary of Defense. His work in the cybersecurity work makes him more than qualified. He was a federal prosecutor. And first off, he's someone that people like the president and members of the administration, including attorneys general around the country, trust to bring integrity and trust back to the FBI. So many millions of Americans don't trust the political leadership at the federal level. I'm not talking about the FBI agents on the ground that I work with every day, but at the top levels, we need people that will basically not weaponize the bureaucracy of the federal government against the citizens, and we trust Kash Patel will do that, and that is why I'm going to support his confirmation here.
So we got to go, but I also want to ask you, there are rumors that you'll be running for governor of South Carolina. Care to make any announcement?
No announcements. I am obviously considering it. I'm not being coy about that. We are looking at it. But right now, I'm too busy focusing on doing my job as Attorney General to protect the people of South Carolina than to talk about future political plans. But it is a consideration.
All right. Good stuff. Attorney General, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well, now to the shocking killing that shook a small border town just hours after Donald Trump took the oath of office, leaving a Border Patrol agent dead, a suspect dead, and a young woman behind bars.
Yeah, Newsmax crime correspondent Jason Matera has details on this bizarre incident that's left a community demanding answers. Good morning, Jason.
Hey, good morning, guys. And yes, this shooting is shaping up to be one of the strangest cases in recent memory, and not in a good way. Why were 21-year-old Teresa Youngblood and a Seattle native and Felix Buchholz, a German national, armed to the teeth with tactical gear, including a ballistic helmet, night vision